What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, and today we are talking about something that is just so much fun. It's just so much fun. We're calling the show today High Vibes. We're going to talk a little bit though. So it's not going to be all fun and games, but it'll be good. I promise you it'll be good. So today it's high vibes and we're talking about why do we go into our stories and roll around in the muck? And what do we do when that happens so that we can shift ourselves into a higher vibe? Hmm. Wonderful, right? Yes. All right. So on Time Fries and Thrive, we talk about our subliminal soundtrack. I'll give you a quick explanation of that in just a minute and how to get it working for us rather than against us. We also talk about seeing your unique beauty, your value, and your contribution to the world because you are a contribution to the world. Whether you know it or not, you are, I promise you. So we're going to get into all of this juicy stuff as we go through the show. First, though, I just want to give you a quick minute of explanation of who I am because we always have new people joining the show. So just in case you don't know who Jackie is, I am in London, Ontario. I have a business called Subliminal Mindset Mastery, and I have certifications in a whole bunch of different coaching things. So I'm actually working on one right now called the Goddess Project. It's kind of yummy. It's kind of yummy. But I have certifications in strategic intervention and mindfulness and a whole bunch of other stuff, women's empowerment. It's wonderful to be me because the more I learn, the more fascinated I become with human beings and with what's going on. So when we are talking about this subliminal soundtrack, so this is my shtick, okay? It is a term that I came up with. I've heard people call it all kinds of stuff: internal dialogue, internal script, all kinds of different names apply to the same thing. But for me, I call it a soundtrack because, I'm old. I'm just kidding. But I do turn 50 this year. So I've seen all kinds of shifts and changes in technology as we've gone through my life. So I have this picture in my head of, those soundtracks where they've got like the two reels. I don't even know what you call them, but they have the two reels. And so it records and it records and it records. So your subliminal soundtrack is exactly like that. We have this loop of messages that plays in the back of our mind all day, every day. It is made up of all of the little tiny bits of information that you have collected throughout your life from every relationship you've ever had, every conversation you've ever had, every lesson you've learned, every single experience has given you little bits of information that have been stored back here on that subliminal soundtrack. And we use the subliminal soundtrack to create everything: our value systems, our belief systems, everything, even our limiting beliefs. So the statistic that I found was between 60 and 80,000 thoughts go through the average person's mind every single day. That works out to somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 per hour and 60 per minute. Now, can you imagine 60 per minute? Can you identify 60 thoughts that are going through your head right now? I certainly can't. I certainly can't. So that what that shows us is that a lot of the stuff is taking place back here where we have no idea what's going on. We have no idea, and some of that stuff is really important, of course, because it keeps our lungs breathing and our heart beating and all of that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on back here. So when we get these messages on our subliminal soundtrack, they can be positive, they can be negative. And sometimes even the negative one, this is very interesting. Sometimes even the negative ones can push us forward. We're going to talk a bit about that as we go through today's show. But the most fascinating part of this thing for me is that what we believe to be true will be true for us, regardless of whether that is based on correct or incorrect information. It's fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating. So, how I came up with this was by going through some sort of my life experiences and my story. And it took me a very long time to start to figure these things out, to unravel some of the stuff, to shift my thinking and address those things that were holding me back, to break through those limiting beliefs, all of that kind of stuff. It took me a long time. And it took me a long time because I didn't have anyone to help me. So, what I want to share with you is that I do have programs, I have one on one coaching, I have all kinds of stuff that can help people to work through those things. So, if you or someone you know is struggling with any of this stuff, please go to www.bookacallwithjackie.com and just go in there and book a call, and we will have a little bit of time together. We can talk about whatever it is that's going on with your life. Hopefully we can start to shift some stuff, and then I can give you some options on what you can do moving forward. It is such a pleasure to me to have this show, to work with people on these bases. Like, it just brings me such joy. It brings me such joy and such pleasure. I have a couple of practice coaching sessions booked with friends of mine this weekend because I'm finishing up the certification in the Goddess Project. So I'm excited about that. And there will be a new program coming in the very near future that is all about getting your sexy back, my friends. Ooh, yes. Let's get our sexy back. We have been in lockdown. We have been in isolation. It is time, my friends. It is time to do whatever it is that brings you joy and sexy and sassy and like whatever that is. It's time to get ready because we're coming back out. Are you ready? All right. So stick with me for today's show. Grab yourself a pen and paper. In the third segment of the show, we always talk about the how. So we're going to walk through some of the other stuff first, then we'll talk about the how, and then in the last segment, we'll wrap it all up with a pretty little bow. So grab yourself a pen and paper and get ready because this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one. All right. So our show description for today is: have you ever found yourself slipping into a space of helplessness, sadness, or victim mentality? We've all done it. We've all done it. I mean, I've probably done it this week. The difference, though, is once you gain some knowledge and you get the tools straight, then it's easy for you to start catching yourself in the moment. So when I'm going into a darker space, I can catch myself now because I've been doing this for a long time. I catch myself quickly right now, and then I shift it. And that's what we're talking about today: getting ourselves into a higher vibe, getting ourselves into a higher energy where we're actually shifting what we're putting out into the universe. It's that vibes, right? So we put the stuff out into the universe, and yeah, we want to call in the stuff that we really do desire. We want to bring to us the people, the situations, the relationships that actually will help us to be the best versions of ourselves, don't we? Maybe you don't. I do. I absolutely do. So I'm calling in all the time opportunities, learning, whatever it is, because I don't know what it is. And this is the other really interesting thing about that subliminal soundtrack and how the mind works. The mind is created for a very specific purpose. It is meant to process information and to keep us safe. And this is probably really helpful when we were being chased around by dinosaurs. It was probably really helpful for some of those things. But we live in, for the most part, a relatively or comparatively safe world these days, especially if you're blessed enough to live in Canada or the US, or some of those other really developed countries. And by the way, yesterday was Canada Day, so happy Canada Day to all my Canadian followers here. When we are blessed to live in a relatively easy way. I don't have to go and hunt my food anymore. I don't have to, well, I do grow a garden, but I don't have to. I can run to the grocery store and pick up anything I need. Healthcare is available to me when I need it. Everything is available when we need it. So, relatively speaking, we have a very easy way of life compared to even 100 years ago. Do you see what I'm saying? So these things that the mind does, it processes that information and it grabs onto it and it says, okay, so to be safe, I need to do this, 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 and I can't do these things. All right. That's its job. Okay. So if that's what's happening, yay, because then it's doing its job. But the other piece of this that I want you to get really clear on, my friend, is that you have a choice. Your emotions, those states of being that we go into that are uncomfortable or draining or anything like that, We don't have to stay there. Sometimes it serves a purpose, but we don't have to stay there. Okay. So, this is what we're doing today. So, if you believe that you're defined by the labels, decisions, and stories you've created, or been told that you are, or been told that you will very likely buy into the labels and opinions, and you may never know who you are or what your unique gifts, talents, and contribution you are to the world. But if you're like me and the people I work with, you believe that you are defined by who you decide to be, not by external forces, not by the things that people have put on you. And when you live that way, you will do the work. You will do the work and you will welcome in the opportunities that help you become who you were born to be. So that is, I mean, that is what I live for. It's what I live for. I have so much fun, and I'm about to have more. Yay. So, yeah, I wrote an article called Three Easy Ways to Reset Your Subliminal Soundtrack. You can go to phoenixcoach.ca. That's PHOENIXCOACH.ca. And then find the box, put your name in, whatever, and we'll send you the article. It's a good article. It has been rewritten. So a new article will be coming out shortly. It is called 5 Steps to Create a Mindset Wired for Success. So it's basically the same information, but it's updated because I've learned a lot of stuff since the first time that I wrote it. So I've updated it and put more relevant things or the things that I've learned into the new article. So feel free to go and grab that. Now, today, we are going to be going through something called the 6 human needs. This is, it's been in a lot of the coaching that I have done, the coaching programs that I have done. Um, Tony Robbins, I believe, is the person who's credited with creating this, but it goes back before him. You know, the methodology, the psychology of it has always been there. But Tony Robbins has crafted this in such a way that it's very clear. So we're going to talk about that just a little bit before we go to our first break. And then we'll talk about what happens with it when we come back. So the 6 human needs are certainty, variety, love and connection, significance, growth, and contribution. Okay. Those are your 6 human needs. So when we talk about certainty, that would be I need to know that I have a safe home. I need to know that there is enough food, money, whatever it is that I need, whatever resources I need to be available, I need to know that they're available to me. So there's a certainty. Okay. So it's that stuff that we need in order to feel safe and comfortable and as though our needs are being met in the physical realm as well as the emotional. You need to know that this is a person that I trust and I can trust them because they've shown me that I can trust them. So it goes like all across the board in your relationships, in your work. Certainty in work might be I need to know that I'm going to get paid when I'm supposed to get paid. It could be I need to know that I've got a secure position. It could be for some people I need to know that I've got a good pension working away in the background while I'm going through my work life. Okay, so certainty is our first human need. And by the way, this is just the order that they come in. It's not that any one of them should be more important to you or anybody else than the other. Second one is for variety. So we need the certainty, but we also need that thing that gets us up, that thing that makes us excited, that thing that shows up. And it could be anything. It could be a new relationship. It could be a trip that you're going on. It could be a new career. It could be a course that you're taking. It could be any number of things. It could be that you're going to go and have dinner with a friend. It could be anything. So we all have this need for a certain amount of variety in our world. The third human need is for love and connection. Now that one is I think fairly self-explanatory, but we need to feel that we are loved. We need to feel that we are connected to other people because humans are social beings. You know, even the ones who are not so social still need to have some connection with someone or something. Significance. We need to know that our presence here makes a difference. We need to know that we matter. We need to know that when we do or say something that it is of value or well, contribution is later, but we need to know that what we're doing is of value. We need to feel like we're important. Okay. The fourth is growth. So this sort of tags along in my mind a little bit with the variety thing. We need to have an opportunity and we need to choose to engage. Now, that could be anything. It could be a skill, it could be a work related thing, it could be anything. It could be a class, it could be, one of the things I was talking with my girlfriend yesterday was I said to her, I cannot wait until we open back up because there will be dance classes and things like that going on and I can't wait to go and learn how to dance. So you see, it's any opportunity for learning, whether it's something for like for work or higher education, or whether it's just something for you. It doesn't matter. We need to have the opportunity to grow. That can also be spiritually, like in any realm. The last one is contribution. So again, we need to know that what we're doing makes a difference. We need to know that we are contributing to our partner, to our home, to our kids, our friends, whomever, or to the world in general. Maybe you need to volunteer someplace to have that. There are all kinds of different things that are tied up in that. And I do believe that I'm going to get the finger in a second. It's time to go to break. So, the last thing I'm going to leave you with on this subject before we head to our break is that anything that we do that provides us with needs being met in multiple areas. So generally 3 or more, that is something that we will latch onto. It is something that we will continue to do, even if it's not good for us. People are fascinating, I tell you. All right, so we are going to head to our first break. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. And when we come back, we are going to continue this conversation about why we go into story and roll around in the muck and what to do when that happens. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about why we go into story and roll around in the muck and what to do when that happens so that we can shift ourselves into a higher vibe. So in this particular segment, we are going to be talking about something that I found absolutely, again, fascinating. It's interesting to me. I'm just realizing how many things fascinate you. It's crazy. It's crazy if you think about all the things that bring you joy or make you go, interesting. So here's another one. The program that I'm working on, they have been talking about this thing that they call safe problems. Now, this is their terminology, so I want to give them credit. This is who is this? I'll remember. It doesn't matter right now. Anyway, they talk about safe problems. So what these problems are is basically our story. So I want to be really clear that sometimes our story can actually help us and sometimes it can hinder us. So it's a matter of really perspective. Really, it's a matter of perspective. So if you have a story that says, I'm a failure, then you can imagine that that one might hinder you. If you have a story that says, I'm the black sheep, that could do either, couldn't it? That could do either. So I'm going to share with you one of my big stories, and if you watch the show you've probably heard this before, but I became a mom when I was 17 years old. And the story that that created for me for a very, very, very long time was that I had ruined my life, that I had failed at something very important, that I had lost all of my potential, and that my life was effectively over. Imagine that at 17 years old, right? It's kind of sad. It took me, I'm going to say 20 years, and it may be a little bit more, it may be a little bit less, but it took me about 20 years to really start to hammer at that, because that belief system, obviously, that was created by that one circumstance, all of those ideas about who I was, because here's the key: what you identify with is true for you. What you identify with is true for you. And that helps you then create your sense of self, your identity, and so on and so forth, right? Easy to understand. It's easy to understand how this happens. So at a certain point, I had to start to shift those beliefs because clearly they were not doing me any good. They were holding me back. They were causing me to see myself as unworthy and not of value and not of contribution. Do you see what I'm saying? And it affected everything about me. It affected how I carried myself, how I showed up, so on and so forth. So when I started to shift those beliefs, the story remained the same. I became a mom when I was 17, but what I told myself about that story changed because it became a triumph story. It became a success story. I had a kid when I was 17. He's now in his 30s. He's got a good job. He's educated. He's smart. He's funny, all of this sort of stuff. And, he's alive, right? So that's our real job as a parent. Our real job is to make sure that our kids make it to adulthood and can take care of themselves. So I had a kid when I was 17, and man, was it hard. Man, was it hard. And I did it. So you see, the stories that we tell ourselves about the circumstance are the thing that's either going to help us or hinder us. We'll just keep it simple. Christine says, LOL, he's alive. Success. It's true. It's true, right? So the things that we tell ourselves about these stories or about these circumstances that happen are what causes it to be either helpful or hindering. All right? Very easy to understand. So where we go back to this 6 human needs with this whole thing, they were talking about this thing called a safe problem. And I think I mentioned that a minute ago, but safe problems are those things that we identify. Again, I was a mom when I was 17, right? I was a mom when I was 17. I ruined my life. I wouldn't, I couldn't do anything smart. I couldn't do anything right. Whatever, like take it and whatever, and insert your own circumstances, because I'm sure every one of us has some story that we have attached to. Okay. So the safe problems are the ones that we cling to them. They become part of our identity. Okay. Very often, these are the things that we will hold on to unless we make the choice to actually address it and shift it, like I did with my mom at 17. Um, if we don't take action to actually change it, then these are the ones that we will hold on to, and they can become real roadblocks in our lives. Okay. So here's the thing. We relate this back to that 6 human needs thing that I was talking about a moment ago, because remember what I said: anything that fulfills 3 or more of these needs, we are going to stick to it, even if it is so bad for us. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's meeting our needs. So anything that fills 3 or more of those needs, I mean, 2 is good, but if you've got 3 or more, you're pretty well clinging to that. Okay. So when we talk about this sort of idea. So, what are the needs that are being met by the story? What are the needs that are being met by this thing that you go into and you roll around in the muck? Okay, so I was 17. I was 17 and I ruined my life, and therefore the expectations, the expectations for me to do well for myself were long gone. They were long gone. Do you see what I'm saying? So also it can maybe create a significance because your role within the family unit, then you become the person who you become the person. So there's a significance to owning that title, isn't there? To owning that label. You know, if we talk to our kids and we say, "Oh, you're bad boy, bad boy, bad boy." Okay, I'm the bad one. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's that programming, it's that subliminal soundtrack, it's that stuff that can really muck with us. It can really mess with us. So, um, in the case of being a single mom, there was most definitely a connection piece. In all honesty, I didn't really have a whole lot of my old friends left after a certain point because we really didn't have a whole lot in common. You know, they're out dating and going and doing things with other people, and I'm at home taking care of a baby, right? So just because we were in a different space in our lives, a lot of those friendships didn't actually make it through that. Now, most of them I've reconnected with later in life, and that's wonderful. But there was a connection piece, a connection piece with other single moms who were young too. There was a connection piece to, um, I didn't go to any support groups, but there were support groups out there. So you can connect with other people that, and they can be helpful. They can also become a bit of a crutch. Do you see what I'm saying? Because again, when we're identifying with something that is hindering us and we choose to surround ourselves with other people who are also being hindered by the same thing, how are we ever going to climb out of it? Okay? So that's where it gets problematic. That's where it becomes a hindrance. But we can be meeting our need for connection because, hey, I know what it's like to be a single mom. I know what it's like to be a single teen mom. I know what it's like to be on welfare. I know what it's like. And we can start to connect with other people who are in the same demographic, maybe. I'm not sure if that's the right word for that, but other people who have the same sorts of circumstances. There can be a connection piece. Okay, so we've got the need for significance, we've got the need for connection, and we've also, in this particular instance, we've got the need for certainty. Because as long as I didn't shift that belief system, I was Jackie who had ruined her life and had no future, and potential was gone, and. So there was a certainty in owning that title, in owning that label and that identity. There was a certainty. I did not have to step out of my comfort zone to be that person, right? That was based solely on circumstances. And I'm not trying to say this is outside of my control. Clearly, I made some decisions, but the circumstances were what caused that to become the message. It did not mean anything in all reality because that didn't define who I was, except that I allowed it to define who I was. Are you following me here? There's this thing where we believe, sometimes we believe that these things that people tell us or that we have heard about ourselves, or again, like I made a decision and it changed everything. We believe these things, we grab onto them, we hold them close, and we create our identity around whatever those things are. Now I'm going to tell you this, I'm a black sheep. I mean, that could be a negative connotation. In my world, it is absolutely not. It means that I am the person who is going out there and doing her thing and not worried about other people. It means that I am the person who is willing to call a spade, even when other people don't really like it. Do you see what I'm saying? It means that I will challenge. It means it means that I'm independent and strong. It means so many other things to me than that I'm the person causing shit. Because in all reality, I'm very rarely the person causing the shit. Very rarely. It does happen. Sometimes it's purposeful, sometimes it's not, but it does happen. But rarely am I the person who's causing a problem. Do you see what I'm saying? So how we perceive something, how we speak to ourselves about anything creates the way that we be with that circumstance. It creates these messages that will propel us towards success, to well that will propel us toward joy and pleasure and all of those things that are good and healthy for us, or it will hold us back from those things. Do you see what I'm saying? It's fascinating. I'm telling you that it is just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful when you start to understand this stuff, because when you start to understand it, like really get it, that's when you can start to actually do the shifting like a million times a day. A million times a day. They say that rocket ships, when they're on their way to the moon, are off course 90 to 95% of the time. So they are constantly course correcting to get to that place. So we are also like that. We have these things that pop into our head that aren't helpful. And when you get really clear and you understand what to do, it is not even hard for you to make those shifts, identifying and making the shifts really quickly. Yeah. So we are going to head to our next break. When we come back, we're going to go through some of the steps that I came up with for you on this. So grab your pen and paper if you don't already have it. I am Jackie Mott, your host. You are with me on Inspired Choices Network, and our show is called Time to Rise and Thrive. Today, we are talking about why we go into these stories and roll around in the muck, and what we can do when we realize that's happening so that we can shift it into our higher vibe. So stick with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about why we go into our stories and then roll around in the muck with them for a while, and what we can do to shift that really quickly when we realize we're doing it, especially when it's not helpful, especially when it's not helpful. So I, I was listening to, I think that the person on that last commercial is Bill. And I just got the one line where it said, whether you're taking us to bed with you. And it just, man, oh man, it's Friday. It's Friday. I'm so glad. All right. So, a few things that are going on with me right now. I've got so many different ideas for the programs. This always happens when I'm working through these certification programs. I have all of these ideas that come up. The newest just came to me yesterday, and it's like a download. I just kind of get these like bang ideas, grab a piece of paper, and I've fleshed out a new 6-week program. It's going to be online. It's going to be great. And that one is going to be about getting your sexy back. I don't know what we're going to call it yet, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And one of the other things that I really loved about this particular program was that they asked us to write a mission statement for ourselves as coaches. And it was so wonderful because I thought about this for a minute, and here's what I came up with. My goal as a coach is to empower you with the tools and the support you need to get to a place quickly where you don't need me anymore. I love it. I love it. And this empowerment thing is a theme. If you've watched any of the other shows, you will see that this is sort of a theme that weaves its way through almost everything. The way that we perceive things, the way that we think about things will either empower us or disempower us. And if you've been a person who has lived in that disempowered place, believe me, I know that world. I know that world well. I know how hard it was for me to climb and scratch and fight my way out of that pit. I know how hard it is. So this is why I've got this complimentary call. Go to www.bookacallwithjackie.com and just book a call with me. We'll chat about it. We'll see what we can break through. It's awesome. It's awesome how fast we can move, how fast we can shift things for people. And that's the beauty of being in this position and having the tools that I have gained over a number of years of trainings. So, anyway, book the call, come and talk to me. We'll have some fun. Well, we'll sort things out. All right. So now we are going to get to our what to do when we find ourselves rolling around in the muck, wrestling with our things, wrestling with our stories. What do we do? So the first thing is we need to identify what it is that we're wrestling with. So what is the story that you're telling yourself? And this can be, it can seem overwhelming, especially if you're someone who's never done this kind of work before, because sometimes we have multiple messages. Like I said, I mean, how many did I give you over the 17-year-old mom? I don't even know. 3 to 5, just about that one circumstance. So if you have 20 challenges in the course of your life, or 50, or however many, some of us haven't had really a lot of easy in our worlds. So some people will have many, many, many situations. If you have 2 or 3 messages around each of those, and I bet you there are some that you have a whole lot more than 2 or 3. How many of those messages are stuck back there? Do you see what I'm saying? So it is very important for us to get clear on what it is that we're wrestling with and pick one piece. There was a person years ago, I think it was a counselor that I knew, but I can't remember who it was. Um, we were talking about, there was a lot going on in my life, and I was very overwhelmed, and I really didn't quite know what to do. And she said, okay, so it's this idea of eating an elephant one bite at a time. She said, just imagine your life as a pie, and you can't eat the whole pie at one time, but you can eat a slice. So just take one piece, just grab one piece, and this is going to be the thing that I'm going to work on right now. Make it easy on yourself. Trying to do this all at once can be incredibly overwhelming. And I will say this again, if you need support as you're walking through this, it is okay to ask for help. I'm here to help you, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people that would also be of support to you. So get clarity on what it is that you're wrestling with. That's the first thing. Now, identify the benefits that you are receiving from not doing anything to change it. What needs are being met? Which of the six human needs? I mean, you can use that framework or you can just whatever, make your own up. It doesn't matter. But what is the benefit of holding on to this story? What does it give you to hold on to this story? Because most of the time, if we are not getting anything out of something, we're not likely to hold on to it. Do you see what I'm saying? We don't engage. We don't engage. It's like that, okay, just ignore them, they'll go away. It's the same thing. If we're not getting something out of it, we're not likely to continue doing it. Okay, so identify what it is that you are getting out of holding on to this identity, to this idea, to this belief system, to whatever it is. Identify what it is that is your benefit. And really, I want to be crystal clear. You do not need to always make these things negative. Sometimes a problem can be incredibly helpful because it's the thing that causes us to take action. It's the thing that causes us to do the work, to shift, to learn to love ourselves, to there are so many things that can happen in a person's life that can be that moment where you go, oh, okay, no more. I'm not doing this anymore. Okay. So identify what the benefit is. And if the benefit is helping you, you're done. You're done right there. If the benefit is helping you and pushing you forward, creating that drive or that ambition or whatever word you want to use that is causing you to move toward the things you want, it's not a bad thing. All right. So yeah, next step is decide if this story is serving you or hindering you. What we just talked about, is it serving you or hindering you? If it's serving you, great. If it's not, and it might be helpful in this step to actually get really honest with yourself. How is this holding me back? What is it causing me to believe? What is it causing me? What actions is it causing in me? What reactions, what relationships am I remaining part of that maybe are not helpful for me? Do you see what I'm saying? So this one, I just want to touch on this because there's an old saying that goes that you are the combined average of the five people with whom you spent the most time. So when I talked about the support groups, when I talked about identifying with the other single moms who were broke, who were on welfare, who had no real direction. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. We are the combined average of the five people with whom we spend the most time. So if you are in this position where you are finding that significance, that connection with something that isn't helpful, then one really great way to shift that is to actually start to surround yourself with other people. Maybe you surround yourself with people who have already broken through. They've already figured out how to get away from whatever it is that you're dealing with, or they are living the type of life that you might like to live. They have the success or the job or the relationships or whatever it may be. They live in the neighborhood that you would like to live in, whatever it may be. See if you can't start to surround yourself with those people, because those people, just by their mere presence in your world, will start to lift you up. Just by being in their company, you will start to shift your thinking. You will start to expect a bit more of yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's one of the really great ways to start to shift things quickly. Our next step is create a new story. So reframe the problem or story. Like I just said, let's turn it into something positive. How can this push you forward? How can this actually turn on that drive or cause you to fight harder or cause you to bring more joy into your life, whatever it is? Okay. How can it help you? You want to come at this from the space of being empowered rather than disempowered. And then you challenge the old story with the truth. You know the truth. You know what your value is. You know who you are. You know what your worth is. So challenge the thoughts with the truth. And then the last step is going to be anchor it. So part of this is just practice. Like I said, over the years, I have done this so much for myself and with my clients and my friends and my family and so on and so forth that now most of the time, not always, but most of the time, when I find myself in this position, I can really shift it quickly. And that's because I've done it again and again and again. So another thing that can help is sometimes creating rituals or affirmations. Um, I don't have one around my wrist because I don't do this, but people put rubber bands around the wrist and then they snap them. So if I find myself having this negative behavior or pattern or whatever it is, snap the band. Okay, really quick way to wake yourself up. You can also just sort of pause, just stop, take a breath, pause, allow yourself to come back to present. Okay. And the last thing that I'm going to share with you on this is again, if you are somebody who is, you know that you need to make some changes, you're not quite sure what to do or how to do it, hire a coach. You'll save yourself years, you'll save yourself money, you'll save yourself all kinds of stress and aggravation. And if you're looking for somebody again, I would love to have a call with you because this is my thing. This is what I do. This is what I do. I'm here to help. Okay. So we are going to head to our last break. Thank you so much for being with me. When we come back, we are going to be talking about a couple of really quick shift tools. So you're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and stick with me for another few minutes. We'll wrap this all up with a pretty little bow. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to our last segment of today's show. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and I just can't get over. I'm looking outside. The winds of change, they are blowing. I am just waiting for that wicked witch from the Wizard of Oz to start flying by my window. It's insane what's going on. The trees are just, wow. Anyway, so yeah. So today we are talking about why we go into our stories and roll around in the muck with them and what to do when that happens. So this last segment, I wanted to just share with you some really quick stuff because it's not always necessary for us to go through a whole process. Sometimes all we need to do is to disrupt the pattern. You know, we have these sort of patterns that we create over the course of our lives, or we fall into them with other people maybe, but we have these patterns and these dynamics that they just happen. We don't even realize we're doing it until we're doing it. Do you see what I'm saying? So if it's something like that, that isn't necessarily like, it's not good, clearly, but at the same time, it's not something that's really like stuck and we need to pull it out and tear it apart and all that kind of stuff. There are some really, really easy things that you can do in the moment as soon as you realize that it's happening. Okay. So moving your body, moving your body is such an amazing way to shift your energy really quickly. So stand up, go for a walk, jump up and down, dance. Don't you feel better after you've danced? So if you find yourself in a space where you're not feeling very good, throw on some music and dance for a few minutes, even if you don't have a lot of time. Or if you're in the car, I love car dancing. I'm sure that there are people sometimes, especially when we get to the stoplights, that are looking in their rearview mirror going, is she having a seizure? What is what is going on back there? What is that woman doing? Christine, she says she's a great car dancer too. So shift consciously. This is the thing, okay? This is the thing. We have to be conscious about this. So, what we're talking about, really, if you boil it down, we are talking about getting yourself into the driver's seat of your own life. Make choices. Make choices. Stop with the victim. The victim doesn't help you. It doesn't help anybody else. It doesn't push you toward your stuff. I mean, it might give you some momentary pleasure or connection with somebody or whatever, but it's not going to help you in the long run. So that's what we're talking about, is breaking that victim mentality, breaking through these things quickly. Okay, nature is a great one. Gardening, I promise you last year, oh man, last year I had a pile of dirt. I don't remember what it was for, and I was digging in the dirt, digging in the dirt, digging in the dirt, like all day, every day for a few days. And my body hurt, but it felt amazing. Get into nature, go weed your garden, plant something pretty, go for a walk in nature, whatever it is for you. Get out there in nature, get some sunshine, get some, some fresh air. What do they used to say? Blow the stink off you. Do something like that. If you're in a position where you can go and play with your friends, go play with your friends or your kids or your spouse or your dog or like whatever. If you can get into a place where you can actually go and just play for half an hour, I promise you, when you're done that, you're going to feel a whole lot lighter. You're going to feel a whole lot lighter. Meditation will work for some people. So if you're somebody that meditation works for, or journaling, or any number of other things, I mean, I suppose yoga or anything like that, right? Those things are also helpful for some people, again, with the play. So one of my girlfriends, one of the things that I have really become quite clear on is, as we've been going through the pandemic and we've been in such isolation, it has taken a toll on a lot of people. And like from a physical perspective, because we're not out there able to do the activities that we would be doing under normal circumstances. We're not able to do so many things. We're isolated, we're alone, we're, all of that kind of stuff. It's been taking a hell of a toll on a lot of people. So I was talking with one of my friends yesterday and I said, oh man, I need some fun. I need to play. And she said, well, why don't we do it then? Why don't we do it? So her and I are gonna, I don't even know, I don't even know what we're gonna do. She says that the batting cages and the mini putt are open. So I'm guessing that we're gonna do batting cages or a mini putt, but we're getting together tomorrow. And her and I have made a promise to each other that as we go through the end of this whole time in history, we're going to support each other in a different way. We're going to help each other with some fresh air, some activities, some joy, some laughter and play. So that's a really great one. All right. Well, we are coming right down to the end of the show here, guys. I'm right down to the wire. The quote that I want to leave you with today: always remember that you have a choice. Always remember that you have a choice. Your emotions can control you, or you can learn to control your emotions and create whatever state of being you choose. It's your choice. What do you choose? All right, my friends, that is our show for today. Thank you so much for being with me. I just love doing the show. I love my wonderful staff here. They're not my staff, but I love my producers and the people who support me when I do the show. Um, it brings so much to my life, brings so much to have you folks. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So we're going to be back next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 Mountain, and 10 Pacific. Next week's show is Getting Your Sexy Back. You better be here. This one's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about bringing back that sensual feminine side. Whatever gender you are, you're welcome. But that's what I'm going to be talking about. So thanks so much again for your time. We will be back next week. I hope you'll be here with us. Have a great week.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.